Okay, so I am Timothy Mirza of the NAMC Institute of Zoroastrian Studies, and thank you for joining this monthly discussion group, Zoroastrianism Outside the Box, hosted by NAMC Institute of Zoroastrian Studies. The North American Morbid Council is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to serving the religious and spiritual needs of the North American Zoroastrian community. The NAMC Institute of Zoroastrian Studies is an educational arm of the NAMC with an objective to train morbids and impart knowledge of Zoroastrianism to fellow Zoroastrians and to community at large. So this event is facilitated by NAMC Institute of Zoroastrian Studies to promote knowledge through free but respectful discussions and debate. The views expressed during this session are those of the presenter and the participants and do not reflect the official policy or positions of the North American Morbid Council. So during the presentation, we encourage you, the participants, to ask questions, engage in discussions, or share your views on the topic. The easiest way to do this is to use the raise hand emoji or post a question in the chat feature. So following a brief talk by the presenter, we will open the floor for discussion with the presenter. Throughout the event, we urge you to be respectful of the views of the other. And now, a few words about Ervad Kobad. I don't know whether I really could say anything about him because he is so well known. He is the past president of NAMC, North American Morbid Council. He was the past president of Zoroastrian Society of Ontario, and also ZCF. And he has served the community, Zoroastrian community in North America for a number of years and on voluntary basis. So all pay a lot of respect have a lot of respect for Kobad. So with that, I will hand over the floor to Kobad.
Thank you, Temton. We'll start the talk. Today's talk is more for morbids, but it does not mean the non-morbids cannot participate in it. But this is we have two things. Sarthos told us two things. First thing he told us, think for yourself and then decide which is the good for the community, for yourself, for everybody. Morbids for last, you can say, hundreds of years have forgotten to think for themselves. The reason is not what we call for us to talk about at this moment, but we in North America should start thinking about how we make our congregational prayers more what we call liked by our youth mainly. I'm talking about youth means anybody over 40, under 40, I mean. We have the longest prayers in everything. And I think, personally, I think we started these traditions in India because for a morbid to do prayers and make some money, livelihood, if he does a longer prayer, he got more money. We all know that when you did Satum in somebody's house, we might get 4 annas or something like, when I was a kid, I remember Jal was there, Jal would have told us exactly how much he made. But we, what we call, sat on the Setranji and prayed for 2 hours or 1.5 hours. We made $1.50, $2 or $5, whatever we did. That was their earnings. So nobody tried to think, why do we have such a long prayers in our jasans? That's our congregational prayers. I compared our prayers, our jasans, with Iranian jasans. And give an example, Parsi jashan, we start with Atasin Niyaz, Dibacho. Dada Homaj with the hum, which a lot of people are still doing, and I've heard it from some person that they still do use what they call the different Afghan, Afghan for the other Hormuz. Now, other purpose is mainly done for people who died, and that's what the full thing is. Tintan, the thing is stuck on my computer is the what do you call the first slide.
We'll go to the next one, sure.
No, don't go to the next one. Just we'll go. No, okay, leave it alone, or remove the slide if you want, and then we can come back to it when we need to. So we do Atasinyas, Dibacho, Dada Hormuz, and then again, mostly nowadays, a lot of people do Dada Hormuz with Daham Afghan, and then again we'll do Daham Afghan, and then we'll do Sarosh, and then we'll end up with 3 offerings. By the time you finish, prayer is over an hour. If you go to, and I've been to ZSO and I've been to OZCR in our this thing, and you go to your own. Most of the youths are outside the hall talking to each other. Only people who are sitting inside are over 50, and they're also discussing things between them. Because people get bored. First thing, we do not understand the language we pray in, so nobody can follow it. So it's like people have to have some understanding to have that attention towards a prayer. In Iran, they do short dibacho. They do not do all the people who died 3,000 years back or 4,000 years back. Okay, they do. The letter I got from Dasuji Firozgari, their Afghans started in both kinds of Jashan we pray the full Afghan, comprising of Afghan Daman, comprising of short dibacho. So they do very short dibacho, and dibacho is a Gujarati word actually, and it means introduction, of the prayer we're going to do. So starting with parents, ancestors, and now what they have done in Iran, they add Zoroastrians who died in the Iraq-Iran war, because they're recent, so people remember them. And that's all. They don't go into the thing. Second one, they do only what you call Sarosh immediately after that. And Sarosh also, they do 3 kardas. They do not repeat flower ceremony even, because it's the same thing, which is in Dam, which is in Sarosh, which is in all the Afghans, we have the same ceremony. So they do not repeat that. They keep it. Now, 2 things we have to point out for Iranian. A lot of Iranis understand Pazan, because Pazan is very close to Farsi. So they understand a lot of words which are being said in the prayers. And if it's a repetition, people are not interested in that. They want one message, one distinct prayer, and that's all. So they have a very short jashan, and 1 afrin they do. They do not do 3 afrins or 4 afrins. Afrin, if you look at the afrin translations even, they're very similar, because afrin is, blessings plus we are what you call remembering the good of the goodness of that afrin, whatever whom you are talking about. The prayers we do at this moment, which is very uninteresting for our youth, I personally propose that Mohammed should have only 1 dibacho, and do not repeat Dham. If you done Dada Hormuz with Dham, you don't have to repeat Dham. It's the same blessing you're doing again and again. If you understood, nobody will do that. If you all understood the language, the priest and the laity understood the language of Avastha and Pelvi, we would not repeat all these things, which we do on repeating every time. So my proposal is only one dibacho. I don't remember, some Bombay or some will remember that we used to have short name list in our small Khode Avastha at the back of what do you call when we do dibacho. Some people used to use that, or some people used to use the one which we have now in our Tamam Khode Avastha, the big one, which is people don't remember them names, or they don't know who they were even, whom we are talking about. So dibacho could be shortened by how many names you do. Then we do dam only once for Dada Hormuz, and then we do saros, and we do one afrin. I think we finished this half in about half an hour. And maybe after 10 minutes for giving them any subject or any translation of some prayer, what we have, to the public. So they will know what we prayed about. And that will get people interested in knowing. Here, some people say that, some people have passed a remark that Mobbes like to hear their own voice. And they go on for 1.5 hours. Some people, like people who are from Udwara, they do, 5 Afghans sometimes and things. So it takes a long 1.5 hour session. With the help of NAMC, and especially our Vice President, Tintin, we wrote to Pope to find out how long the prayers should be. And he's going to show you, it will give you some idea what Pope thinks, what the prayer should last, how long it should last.
Okay, Kobad said, take it over.
Okay, thank you. You can take it up. And this is 2018, I think he said this. The prayer should be very short. 10 minutes, the max should be the prayer. It's to keep people's attention. And then, like if you're doing what do you call, about a subject, talking about a subject or something like that, it's different because they understand what you're saying. Their prayers are also in Latin and nobody understands Latin. So if a long prayer, people don't know what's happening. And this is the problem they have also, and they are bigger congregation than ours. We have to learn from somewhere. I would like any Mobbes over here, or anybody actually, if he has a question at this moment and want to, think, please raise your hand and we'll put you in. Okay. 3 times we do dibacho at this moment. We lose. The dibacho is done in what you call not loudly. So it is an undertone. Like a lot of people will, a lot of Mobbes will, like nobody will understand what they're saying even under the breath. Okay. Not the God can hear or congregation can hear you in that second dibacho and third dibacho. Okay. So it's nice to do the first dibacho nicely and then do the Afghan, 2 Afghans and 1 Afrin, and that ends Kosalinu Jashan. And that's the way we shortened it. We have done all the prayers what we have to do. And that will, what you call, people will like it because it's done in a very short form, and then always have a subject prepared. Meaning of short prayers, what we have, like Kemna Mazda, Hora Mazda Khodai. How many of people know about that? But if you just take that Hora Mazda Khodai and give them the meaning of it, it will stick into their head. So when they're doing the kasti, it will come to them what they're talking about. Chashwenga Mazda, all the short prayers. You don't have to go to gathas and things like that, which is very high for the people to say. But short prayers, translations, meaning of it, why we do it. These are the lectures Mohammed should prepare and give out at the end of the Jashan. And that will keep people coming into Jashan without, Nozar always tells me, say, we stop food, we won't have anybody coming to the Jashan. And that's true. If you look at in the COVID time, we stopped feeding people. People coming for any Gamba Jashan was about less than a quarter of what they come when there was a food served. So that was the attraction for the people to come and mingle with other Zoroastrians. This is my thinking at this moment. I don't know why we haven't thought of this thing for a long time. We are here about 50 years in Canada and USA, and we still follow the same routine what we had been taught when we were kids as a Maoist, and we continue doing the same thing. And our children, our younger children, will start doing the same thing, and we are going to lose more and more audience on the prayers time. And this is the biggest problem we have at this moment. And if anybody has want to speak against it or in favor of it, please raise your hand. Raise your hand, and then will put you in. Okay, to discuss this, because this is something which people have to discuss for us to learn from each other, and that will give us more and more what you call things to do. I have other subjects. I got few of them, but I would like this subject to be discussed at this moment. Then we'll come out to another 2-3 points we have in our prayers.
Okay, thank you, Kobad Sahib, and we will go to Zenobia Panthaki. She has her hand raised. Go ahead, Zenobia.
Yeah, actually, I agree with a lot of what Kobad said. I've been saying this in an earlier meeting. I also said where we lose our youth is the fact that we have never tried to translate our prayers. Now, I know there are translations, but when we are reciting them or when we are sitting in a jasan, at that time, there is no translation. And I still feel our religion is absolutely superb. But the other day I was at a Hindu ceremony, and this Panditji was performing the ceremony. He would sit near the Agni, perform the ceremony. Then he would jump up and go to the mic and translate exactly what he had said for the next 5-10 minutes. Then he would be back again saying his prayers, back at the mic, back and forth. But we knew exactly what the Panditji was praying and saying. The same, and then I have a question for the Morbid Council or a suggestion. When you go to a church ceremony and you listen to the priest praying, the prayers are so relevant to the situation. For instance, if there's a wedding, if there's a happy occasion, he says something that is completely relevant to that situation. Similarly, when he's performing a funeral, he gives consolation. He says the soul has now reached its heavenly abode, and he gives consolation to the family. There, in our prayers, regardless of whether it is a Khusalinu Jashan or whether it is a funeral, what you hear are the same prayers. There is not much difference in what is said. So, this is a question. I myself don't understand why. Maybe it's because we lost a lot of our literature when Persepolis was burnt. I don't know why. But this is just food for thought. It's always bothered me, and I've always talked about it with Beram. So I'm just throwing it out there for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Zenobia. Certainly, I think Kobad will make a note of it and we can discuss it further. Now we go to Maruk Tamboli. Go ahead, Maruk.
Yeah. I think there are two things here. One of them is that if we were to pray enough ourselves, and if we raise our children to do their own prayers and to understand the meanings of the prayers, then when the Dasuji prays, those words, we can recognize them and we can say, oh yeah, that affected me greatly, because slowly over the years, I've been trying to understand the meanings of the prayers, and it's helped me a lot. Secondly, I say that if you're going to reduce our jashan to half an hour, personally, I don't want to have my shower, get dressed, drive all the way to the hall for half an hour just to eat food and then come back. I'd rather do a proper prayer. Now, my third point is, when we do our jashans in Ottawa, nobody except the little toddlers yell or scream. And even then, the parents will take the toddlers out. Jashans in Toronto, people are talking, the youth are in the hall. That, I think, is a sign of disrespect. That is something that the parents should have taught their kids right from the start. That is something that I grew up with myself. When I was young, because my mother died very young, I was used to staying at the jashans and praying and sitting. My buddies were outside having a gay old time. Why are they even there? I thought to myself, what are they here for? Might as well not bother to come. Where are their parents? Why aren't their parents telling them? These are vibrations. This is not just music that you can put on your phone. If you want to listen to music, stay at home and listen to music. But these are vibrations that you are to imbibe. There are farishtas that are being produced here. If you stand out in the hall, you're not going to get those farishtas. My kids, even when they were very little, they sat on my lap right through a whole jashan for 1 hour or however long it took. That, I'm afraid, has to do with parents. That has nothing to do with the teenagers. If you teach them properly, they will learn. That doesn't mean we have to slowly wheedle out all our prayers. Our prayers are important. I love my prayers. I sit there and I'm transfixed when I listen to our prayers. And if I'm going to go there for just 15, 20 minutes and then a lecture, no, I'll sit at home and read my own book. I don't need that. So that's my 2 cents worth.
And I just replied to you, Maro.
Haji.
You're right. Okay. Some people have matravani, which is more important to them than knowing the meaning of the prayers even. Okay. They feel the vibrations and all. When you do dibacho undertone, there's no vibrations. Okay. Nobody can listen to what I'm saying, because some people will say undertone, some people say that sound, there's no vibration. Okay, we are repeating the same thing 3 times in our prayers, which has got no meaning, because you can't hear it. You can't, there's no vibration if you're going on the vibration side, and we are repeating the same thing again and again in every afternoon. So if you do once, which is loudly, which you can have the matravani working for you or for others who like that, but you do not repeat that 3 times twice undertone or 3 times. And that's the thing which takes up time. And this is what we are trying to do, is meaningful to you as you want to listen to the prayers. You don't want undertone prayers, because then there's no meaning. And that's what, and second thing, I do it myself. There are a lot of YouTube's, prayers are available. I put it on in the evening sometimes, if I would, but that is secondary thing. The main thing is, Morbid should understand why we are doing it, and if we give 15 minutes of lecture, or not lecture, but at least information to people about our religion or our prayers, it sits in their head, in their mind, longer than hearing the jashan for 45 minutes or 50 minutes and then go home. Okay. But that 15 minutes of lecture or 15 minutes of dialogue or anything what they do, which in English, so they understand the youth, and mainly is youth. I'm I'm thinking about. And youth have pointed out, okay, when I'm not doing darshan, when I go outside and talk to people at ZS, so they were outside in a summer day, they're all outside, the youth, okay, this is what they want. And if you start giving them the meaning or some information about religion, okay, in that 10 or 15 minutes, people will come more and more for it. I know the prayers are important for a lot of people. I know the prayers are important for me too, but repetition of same prayers like Dham repeated twice, what does it mean to anybody? Because you don't understand one word of what Dham Afghan, when we are saying that, as a Moabit, we don't understand one word of it too, unless we have read the thing and we know the meaning of it slightly. It's a blessings, but why do I have to do it twice? If I come to your house and I say, how are you, how you're doing and all that stuff, I don't have to repeat it twice to you. That, so this is what the idea is to have adjustments in a shorter time and have some time for. If you do after 1 hour Jashan, you want to stand up and again lecture people in the thing, you have lost them. Okay.
I don't know, but I thought, you see, I don't know everything. Of course, I don't know very much at all. But the thing is, in our prayers, there are certain prayers that to be repeated certain number of times. In Sarosh Baj, we have to say 5 yathas and 3 asham. When we do Satum, well, I just do the pasan, then you have to do so many yathas. So maybe the Dham has to be repeated. That's the way our prayers are.
Yatha and Hashem is a different thing in prayers than repeating the same prayer twice in a Jashan. Like Dham Afghan, which we do it for Dada Hormuz, we just only changed 3 words. Shnuman, that's the only thing we changed. And we repeat the same thing again.
Right, but don't we create other forestas? We do it for other Hormuz, then we do it for the Pravashi, then we do it for others. We create more forestas.
You don't create forestas. The Dham is completely blessings to the people who are there in gathering. Okay, Dham Afghan is blessings. Okay, so you repeat the blessing twice. Okay, that's all you're doing. Anybody else?
Okay, thank you. Now we go to Jal said. Jal Panthaki, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kobad. I'm sorry, my little bit of a voice problem. But first of all, we have to understand the concept of prayer. Why do we pray? Why do we pray is the reason, first of all, we pray during our bad times, rough times, to Dada or Ramazda, or pray during a good time to give a gratitude. So the prayers has to be sincere prayers with a devotion. So the length may be short or long. It is the sincerity and devotion that we pray that counts. However, when we pray, when we talk about the vibrations, even the prayers that we do undertone, because we have, like we said, we have to understand and pray with a devotion. So when we pray undertone, even our thoughts creates the vibrations. Our actions create the vibrations. Our words create the vibrations. So ultimately, it all boils down to the devotion and sincerity when we pray. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jal Saib. That was wonderful. Manik Bujwala, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, and hello, everyone. One thing, Kobad, what you were saying, I actually do practice it quite often when I go to do any kind of jashan or other prayers at private homes, and especially so when I see there are some children, in there. So I give a little brief explanation of what I am going to pray about. And like, for example, even the flower ceremony, I will explain, this is why I'm picking the flowers up, what they represent, etc. So I think that's very important. I agree with you. Now, there's one thing that the Iranian, people do is they have added something called Bear Asad, You may be aware of that, because I pray with the Iranians also, and so that's another prayer. And now, if you say that we should only do one dibache, then because usually our current dibache, refers to a particular yazad, right? It's the Afrin Gan that we are doing either for Sarosh or Daman or Arda Farvash or what have you. So that dibache, that one dibache would have to contain some reference to all these, other Afrin Gan mentions or something. And so I just think that, other than that, I just agree with you, that we should have some explanation of what we are praying. And the other thing you mentioned about, when we go silent, so one time one Iranian did ask me, okay, what happened sometime you go silent, so I explained to him, that this is the reason that we, in order to respect our original Avestan language, so whenever there is some Pazan or some other language thing comes in between the Avestan language parts, then we go silent just out of respect for the Avestan language. So I think that's very important to explain to people what we are praying. Or the other thing was recently there was an inauguration of the bronze statue of Cyrus the Great at the California Zoroastrian Center. So at that time, they asked me and another Iranian priest to say some prayer also. So the Iranian priest, he recited a few passages from the Gathas, okay, and they asked me to do the translation of that in English, especially because they had invited some dignitaries, mayors of cities, etc. So, I think it's very important. Otherwise, especially all the non-Iranians, would be totally lost, if we only do the Avesta and Pazan. At least the Iranian people, they understand quite a bit of the Pazan part, I would think, because it's very similar to Persian, if not the same. So, but that's all my comment. Thank you.
I've
Thank
got
you,
one
Manik.
question for you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Manik,
Yeah,
when you pray for Iranians, this thing,
right.
Do you do 3 dibachos?
Yeah, I do 3. Well, I mean, the thing is usually the way we do it over here is for at least at the community prayer, we divide it among the 2-3 priests, whoever is there. But if I go to a private Iranian place, yeah, I do the 3 dibachos, yeah.
No. Tell me how do you divide it in your community prayer?
Okay, like if there are 3 mobeds and mobediars, then each one takes one part, one Afrin Gan. Right.
But they do it all together?
No, they do it separately.
One after another?
Yeah, like I might start with Arda Farvash and the other one will do the Daman and the other one will do the Sarosh,
After you finish Arda Farvash, then they go to them, or they do it together? After you finish?
Yeah, after one person finishes, then the second person takes over and does his part.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Manik Sahib. Rohinton, go ahead, Rohinton.
Yes, we have this book by Dasturji Minochar Homji, edited by Soli Dastur, which is Jashan Prayers with Understanding. So on one side are the prayer text in English script, and on the other side are the translations. So some of us use this book while the Mobids are reciting the prayers, and we gain a lot from it. The time passes quickly, and it's sort of spiritually elevating as well. So I recommend that we do that. And further, we need to keep our audience engaged. And we have talked about this involvement of the audience, participation of the audience, but it is not being done universally. I think Behram Pantaki does it in Washington quite a bit, but I don't know if it is done in other places. So whether they're short or long, we need to have audience participation and make certain that the audience understands what is happening on the stage. And in that respect, I've suggested several times that our mobidiars should be the intermediaries between the mobids performing the ceremony and the audience, so that the mobidyar announces right at the very beginning what is going to be recited, some little understanding of the prayers, and then involves the audience, gives them a signal to recite prayers together with the mobids. And the mobids, of course, have to slow down or keep pace with the audience so that the audience gets fulfillment of in participation. So that is something we need to do in North America. Thank you.
Rohinton,
Yeah.
how many people in your audience read that book when Jashan is going on?
3 or 4, not
3
too
or 4.
many.
From 100 people, 3 or 4 people are doing that.
Well, yeah, maybe sometimes 100, but yeah, very few, very few.
This is the problem we have. So we as Mobit, if you want to get our youth involved in our Jashans and coming out to Jashans and prayer meetings, we have to start changing our thinking slightly. Because I've seen youth sitting for half an hour, 1 hour sometimes, when there's a lecture going on, because they understand what these people are saying. It's a prayer time, which I find that they're outside the baby, talking to their friends or, doing things like that. They are not sitting there paying attention to it. And when people are sitting there even, I've seen people talking to each other. So we have tried putting it on the meaning on the screen even. Okay. Only Iranians have a good habit that every time we do flower ceremony, they will always raise their hand and they're taking part into that flower ceremony, because it's important people understand. Most of the Iranians understand what we are saying there. Okay. This is a good thing about Iranians, and this is the reason the participation is higher with Iranians when you're doing the prayers than with Parsis.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Kobad. We need to have the audience involved in the prayers, not just 1 or 2, but several portions of the prayers. We need to have them involved and have them recite, stand up. For instance, in Atashni Nyayesh, when you do the Atravakshi, the audience should be holding hands and stand up and hold hands and make a connection with the Farganyu. That, and during the Jashan ceremony, we should always encourage them to recite the, what is that one prayer? I forget the name. Humatanam, Huktanam, Hurashtanam. It's a beautiful prayer, and everybody should stand up and recite that 2 or 3 times. It occurs in every Afringan. So that keeps them engaged. Several other things, Yathavarya, for instance, we should all recite the Yathavarya's together, or Shambhu together.
We have tried that. I remember years back, we had over here a gentleman called Mr. Sidwa, and he was what he called Mobidia, and he used to stand there and tell people, now start doing this. We have tried that even. It is not gelled to the thing, because every Mobit does different way. We have tried it some places in what you call Toronto. It hasn't gelled where people what you call be complete part of the Jashan. Okay.
NAMC should send a directive to the Mobidyars to do that, and train them to do that, to be the intermediaries between the Mobids and the audience. Now that requires some doing some work on the part of NAMC to trained the Movidiars to do that.
Yeah, thank
Anyway,
you.
so that's my 2 cents.
Thanks.
Just to add to what Rohinton, in our congregation in a little town called London, Ontario, and Guru could attest to it, though keep in mind that our congregation has remained the same for a number of years. And we have started this practice of everyone saying all the prayers that an Atavakshi would do. So everyone has a book and they all say that with us. And all the Yatavari Asembo, we all say it together. At the beginning of the prayers, there would be a small talk, just a 2, 3 minute, 4 minute talk as to what we are going to say, what prayers we are going to say, why are we saying it. Towards the end, once everything is over again, a short. But I found that gave ownership to participants. They are a part of it. They became a part of the whole prayer system rather than somebody just coming and sitting there. Also, from the very beginning, it has been a practice of ours that nobody talks during the ceremony. If they do, even there is a little hint of somebody talking, we would stop the prayers. And people get the message that talking is not acceptable. And in fairness, I think everyone is respectful, and they will never talk while the prayers are going on. So I think to an extent, if we train the congregation that, well, this is what is expected, and talking is disrespectful not only to just the Mobiles that are praying, it's disrespectful for the people that we remember and recite and all the yazats and everything. So it's disrespectful for the whole concept of it. And so people do refrain from doing things that they're not supposed to do. Okay, the next we go to Firdosh. Please go ahead. Firdosh Mehta.
Haji, thank you very much. I'm not a Mobid. I'm trying and practicing to be a Mobidiar. Tough job. I have had hours and hours of discussion with this topic, and he can agree. But I don't have that time to do that here, so I'll try to make it brief. But even brief for a guy like me, it has a different meaning than most people. So I have this book that I use, which is by Jahan Bagli, NAMC, and Adi Unwala, about understanding and practice of Jashan ceremony. As you can see, I've tabbed the heck out of it with tabs, different color telling me what is on what page, so I don't have to fumble when I need. The other book I have is also what Rohinton Rivetna pointed out just now, and that is the Jashan with Understanding. I take these 2 books, and I have a third one that was made up by my good friend Boris Balsara from Dallas. And I take this and I hum quietly and pray from these books when the Jashan is going on for practice. Of course, I always get lost when they have to go quiet, because the speed at which a Mobit prays, the quiet part, I cannot keep up. So I just wait for the next loud word that comes up after that to start and continue. Fine, that is the way I manage for now. But I asked all the Mobids, including just last night at my home, we did a Jashan. And I asked them, Baba, what debachis, what other Afringans, what will you pray in what order, so I can follow you. After one finishes, the second one. And with all due respect to all my wonderful Mobit friends, I've been trying this for many, many times, even at the Darwin or homes or whatever. And I cannot keep up because you guys all do different. Certain people don't even say certain paragraphs and lines. How am I going to keep up with the, and I'm doing my textbook. I'm not making something up myself. So recently we had a death in the community, a very good friend of mine, and they wanted to do some after death ceremonies. That's another part I want to learn after the Jashan, the ceremonies for Paidast and Sarosnu Patru and those kind of things, which I'm still very, very behind, and it needs a lot of practice. But what I have done in the meantime for 2 times in my life to support what Kobad just explained. And I'm not trying to say anything to hurt anybody's feelings. Insult nothing, so I'm not trying to mess up with anybody. But I'm just doing it. Who's stopping you from doing it, guys? You don't need the Pope to tell you that. You don't need an Arabban Mahaspan to tell you that. Just what you believe in your mind. You think before you believe. And if your thoughts say this is the right stuff, even as a mob, I've seen them do different prayers at different times, even Nawjud ceremonies. Certain paragraphs are said or not said. So just don't hold it back on them. Whatever they did, you invited them as a mob to come and do the ceremony. Respect that, and that's it. If you did not like that mob, don't invite him the second time. So when this friend of mine passed away, we wanted to do the Sarosh no Patu. So we had Mohammed here in Vancouver from the Parsi side who came and did that. But he also works. Sometimes he works night shift, evening shift. So he did one Sarosh no Patu. And the second time we couldn't find anybody. So we got an Iranian mob to come and do the Sarosh no Patu. So he did this in his Iranian way. And then we couldn't find somebody for the third one. So the family said, Pirosh, will you come and do the Sarosh no Patu? I said, no, I'm not even a moped here. I'm not a moped. I can't do a full, but I will do a ceremony that will support the concept of my friend passing away and how we can support and aid his soul to transfer from the material world to the spiritual world. And what are the important things that we need to consider? Not just the prayer, but the concepts of what we do, why we do. So I ended up making 8-page thing myself. And here is the first page where I talk about who I am, what I am doing. Don't hold this against me. Then because light is very important, I start with the namaskar of Kiragna with light rather than do the whole Atasniyas. Because remember, this crowd does not want long stuff. It is fast. And that also, not only I pray that, but I recite the translation. Most of my translations are from Tangaji's book and sometimes some others. Then I did the Namaskar of Ravashi because those are the people who have passed away. And then I also do the Karda, which is what we just talked about, Umatana Bhuktana, is from the Haptaniyas. It is Karda paragraph 2. And I again do the translation, may the good thoughts, good words here and elsewhere, for those who are performing and those who have performed them. We revere and meditate as we are for the good. And I move to Yami Hatam, which is a very important prayer for us. And those men and women we both adore. This gives the people the concept, oh, our prayers apply to men and women. It's not just for men or just for women. So certain part of it is important. Then I do the Nirang of Sarochias Vadi, because Sarochias is the most important part during the time of a person's passing away. And we have to give the support. So I explain what is Saroch. And if I do words I use, I give the Avesta, I give the Pahlavi or Persian, and I give the Parsi Gujarati. So Rausha becomes Surush, becomes Saroch, as you can understand. Then I take this Satam Karda and I pick from that the Dibachi verses 8 to 14, and I recite them, and most of it is about the Aidaryadvat, Anuchay Ravan, that kind of stuff, all the way to paragraph 14, where and everywhere it ends as As Gayomar on the Socios Aidaryadvat. And then I do some of them as Hama Athornan, then Ravan, Pedran, and Nachovan, Fraochian, all of those things that I feel that are important to understand what the Sarosh ceremony is all about and what we are doing for the departed to help their souls move to the next world. And this whole Satum Karda paragraphs that I have picked, I do the complete English translation of them with that. And of course, we get up and do the Yathavaryo, Shembo, like a Hambandagi, etc. And in the Hambandagi, I like to do that, the Namaskar of the Ashok Pawar, because somebody has passed away. And then that's the end. And every time I do this at different occasions, everybody comes back, including Parsis, Iranis, including non-Zoroastrians, that this is the best thing we came to because we understood what the heck was going on, which we never do when your Mohammeds pray. sit there for an hour or do something. Nobody does. Everybody's forcing themselves to be quiet and be okay. And they said, this was so nice. We participated by understanding the meaning and listening to the whole. I'm not saying Mobbit have to do this or not do that. You folks definitely come from a school of thought and a school of madrasas and understanding. So who am I to tell you what to do? I'm just telling you what I do. And the similar thing, there was a elderly Parsi lady, 80 plus years old. She had got advanced bone cancer. They moved her to the hospice where she was almost crying every day. Why am I getting all this? Why is this for? I've never done anything bad for anybody. Why should I suffer all those kind of things? And I told her, I'm not going to try and explain to you or correct you or tell you what it is all about. You figure it out for yourself. But I'm willing to come here and sit down and pray with you, the Sarosh asked. And she said, yes, yes, please come in. So I used to sit down with her every evening till she passed away after a few days and held her hand. And now this, I don't know if Mobbits can even go to the hospital and hold the hand of a person who is sick, because nahi to nan ko teach us. You have to do the nan again. But that's a whole different topic. We can take someday. So I sat down and did that. And Chora Dios Betandara Pachi, she said to me, Dikra, I too badu bhane mane to kai samajh nahi padtu. I said, okay. Tomorrow I will pray and then I will read the English translation. So that is what I did. And it brought a sparkle into her eyes and her face, and she was happy that she knew what the heck I was praying about and how it could help her. After a few days, she said, "Abe Firdaus, Dikra, I biju je nathi samajh padtu te banwano ban kari de maine khali English ma bani aap." Look how she formed her thought process. I am not here to tell her what to do or not to do. I'm here to support her during the worst time of her life so that she can pass away peacefully. That is the aim. That is the goal. Don't tangle up your life with 50,000 other goals that you make. Focus on what is required, and the person there in front of you is the person for whom you want to do it. Not anybody else in the world at that time is important other than this lady for whom I am doing it. And she was every time I came and prayed the only English version of the service. She would love it. She kept on asking me to come and do it. And I told myself, if that is bringing her peace of mind, if that is where her heart is kind of stable to accept life, who am I to judge and say, I'm nahi karwano, I'm nahi karwano. And that was it. So I gave you my experiences. I'm not trying to say it one way or the other. I'm not trying to say Mobbit should change this and change that. My good friend and relative Jal Pantaki told us about the same thing during the Vandidad lecture, that yes, we can change certain things that do not make sense. And I have said this to every Mobbit, even in India, to Varadastuji. And the only answer I get over there is, Dikra, tu samajh to nathi. Iya hamara thi nahi tha kai bhi. Tame kahan jaina karya karo. Go to America and do your things. So I can't blame them. Again, they spent all their life living and depending and defending a system. Who am I to tell them not to do it? But all they say is, Dikra, here chaltu ayo te chalva devano. This chaltu ayo te chalva devano, there is a word in English for that. It's called status quo. It is not tradition. That is not the word for chaltu ayo. That is not traditional. If you want to do traditional, I'll give you tradition of 3,000 years ago from Zarathustra's time. Then there is a tradition 2,000 years ago. Then we have Achaemenid traditions, Parthian traditions, Ascanian traditions, and coming to India with Hindu influence. Which tradition are you talking about that we need to maintain? Every 500 years, we have a different tradition. But to me, I asked the priest at that time, Sahib, tame chaltu ayo to chalva devanu keu? So tamara grandfather na time તમે લોકો જ બેઠા મોબેરો ઘેરેથી નઈ ધોઈને ઉઠીને સવારે 11:08 બેરામ જતા હતા તો ટાંગામાં જતા હતા, ઘોડા પર જતા હતા, ઊંટ પર, camel પર જતા હતા. You used to travel by those means. Today you all call a taxi and sit down and go in a car or whatever, and in taxi also you have to have a Parsi driver only. How did you change that? તે ચાલતું આવેલું તે કેમ નહીં ચલાવ્યું તમે? ટાંગામાં કેમ નથી જતા? And then they keep and they say, "Nay, Dikra, certain things we have to change." Okay, fine. You decide what you have to change. You are the Mobbits. You are the leaders. We respect you for that. But please show leadership. Don't blame each other and put the thing off to somebody else. And if you keep debating like this, 70 years of my life I've debated. Maybe 140 years will not even happen. Please, you guys have a Morbid Council, you have a good established legal entity. You have the responsibility of doing that. Please go ahead and get these things. How did Ervad Kobad do it? He came up with the Yajna ceremony and said, you very well follow this or else. Thank you. I'm just being, my voice always goes up because I'm not angry, I'm passionate.
Thank you, Firdous sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we go to Khurshid. Khurshid, go ahead, please. Khurshid?
I think she put a chat on chat box.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll look at it in a minute, but let's go to Jal Panthaki again.
Okay. I just wanted to make a few comments. First of all, praying in our Avastan language versus saying in English language that Firdous Mehta just mentioned. Our prayers, if you will look into the divine songs of Zarathustra by Ervad Kobad, in the back, he gives the meaning of, because all the prayers are written in a specific meters, metrical index is like. So it's like a poetry. By trying to translate into English, the significance of poetry will be completely lost. Also, the vibration those words would create when you recite in Avastan language versus English language might be completely different, and no research has been done on it. I also want to make one more comment that in OZCA, we have started making an effort to, when we are doing the ceremony on the screen, the passage that we are reciting is being screened for the congregation to join in and pray together. The meaning part of those prayers, if you start to explain at each paragraph or at the end of each, could be a very long. Sorry, something.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it will be extremely long. And so what I'm suggesting that we should do is maybe we can have a printouts of the meaning of those prayers and hand it out to the congregation before we start. So those who would like to understand the meaning of the prayers, we can hand them over those printed copy, and they can follow along like paragraph by paragraph, and they can follow along as the priests are praying. Now, talking about the coping up with, as Mr. Mehta mentioned, as it is, the Jashan ceremony takes 1 hour. And few years ago, and I won't name, but a prominent Zoroastrian, he passed away, God bless his soul. At the end of Jashan came and asked me, Jal, can you make it little shorter because people are getting little tired for 1 hour sitting there? And my answer to that gentleman was that, sir, you guys are sitting comfortably on a chair. The Morbid Sahibs are sitting on the Setranji, on a platform, wherever, with their legs crossed for 1 hour, reciting loud in front of a smoke and a fire and a heat. And they are not complaining, and you're sitting. So I said, do you want us, when you say cut short, should I say Hashem wo vaislaisim and yataveyo dadar vastarem? Is that how you want us to cut short? Anyway, to make the long story short, it is up to the congregation, people who are coming to attend those prayers. Why are you there? If you're coming there to attend the prayers, onus is all up to you also to have that concentration yourself and the discipline to be calm. and so that you can receive the blessings. Because that's what we do when we pray. We are requesting the blessings of dear departed souls, Dada our masters, and Ashofras and so on. Sorry,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Jal, I've got a question for you. When we repeat Dham Afrikaan twice, does it make sense?
Yes,
Why?
yes, it does.
Why?
Can you, if you say, God bless you, let's say in English to somebody, and if you say God bless you twice, it in fact you are enforcing that you are requesting God blessing on that person. There are reasons why there are certain prayers have been repeated, or it is like a formula. And
No,
like
hold on.
as Dr. as Mr. Mirza wrote on the chat, that repetition typically reinforces the mindfulness and creates long-term memory from short-term memory. At neuronal synapses, there is also spaced repetition, which helps reinforcement and encourages mindfulness. So
That's
there
right.
are reasons why certain prayers are repeated. It is because we, out of our ignorance maybe, and don't understand the reason why we are making such comments.
No,
Because
Jal,
a lot of scholars have written, if this was not necessary, all our scholars would
Jal.
have mentioned that long time ago.
Jal,
Thank you, Kobad.
you know that in India, we always did Adda Farvas Dham Sarosh, okay, for all Jashans. When I went last time about a few years back, when my niece got married, Mobit came into the Jashan in the house. He did Adda Farvas Dham Sarosh, okay. I'm asking you, when we are now understood that what Adda Farvas is for, we mostly do Dham for Dada Hormuz. Why do we have to have another Dham done one after that?
Do you know the meaning of the Dam Karda,
I've read it, yeah.
It is nothing but a Tagdorostin Avasta language.
Blessing, it's a blessing.
So when we are doing a Kushali Jashan, it's for a good occasion. So Ardha Flowers Jashan is for the departed soul.
Correct.
The Dada Ormas, okay. So the Tawami Namane Karda with the Dada Oramas the Karda, which is for the Kushali. So when we are doing a Kushali Nujashan and we are invoking Dada Oramas, we are reciting the Tawami Namane. Some Mobet Sahibs from Udwara and all want to do some abbreviated Yawo Isar Karda, but that is individual Mobet's choice. So yes, so it is connected with when you say Dada Ramazda, you invoking Dada Ramazda and you are asking his blessings. And when you're doing Dham Karda, you are repeating those blessings again. And there is nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong in not doing anything. Okay. There's nothing wrong. People are in India doing Adda Farvas, Dham and Sarosh for Kusali. We do Dham and Sarosh for Kusali over here. A lot of people. Or some people do, Iranians do only Dham and Sarosh, only two. Nothing is wrong in any prayers combinations. They do the same purpose as what, like I remember somebody telling me years back, somebody from Udwara, Mobit, that, hey, you people only do 3 kardas, we do 5. And they do 5 kardas, okay? Doesn't mean that his chassan was better than ours or whatever it is. We are trying to understand that Dham Karda is repeated twice over here. In India, Dham Karda is repeated only once because they do Adda Farvas for the Dada Hormuz or Khursali.
Each Mobet
now you are taught
based on his understanding and devotion would do the prayers, and we cannot.
That's true. I'm not devotion. Devotion is you can have a shorter prayer devotion or you can have a 2-hour prayer devotion. Okay, devotion is not time-based. Devotion is only how you pray and with what feelings you are praying. That's devotion. And people also who are sitting in the audience, what are they doing at that moment when you're praying? That's the devotion. Okay. And like Rohinton pointed out, because he wants to keep his mind to the prayers, he reads the meaning of it or the prayer of it. Okay. When you are doing that. That's fantastic what he has adopted for himself. But not everybody else, if you see in the audience, okay, if you do repeat twice the hum or 3 times the hum, they won't understand even what you did. So we only understand as Mohammeds, and we always followed what we've learned in India. Okay, and now the last 10, 15 years, I see Mohammeds over here dropping Adha from the Kusali Nujashan, which is good. Because now they understood that was only mainly for the dead, this thing. But India, they still continue doing that. So its devotion is there everywhere. Every prayer, I think every Mohammed who goes to pray anywhere, he has devotion. Otherwise, he's not going to put his time, 2 hours of traveling or whatever it is, and then go and do a prayer. He has a devotion towards prayers. Okay. So I do not challenge any Mohammed that he doesn't have devotion or not devotion, but repeating the prayers, and making it longer, does it serve the purpose for the public prayer? For individual home prayers, do what you have to. But my thinking is for the congregational prayer, shortening it and then doing a 10-15 minutes of any subject on Zoroastrianism or whatever it is, giving them some idea about what prayers we did, whatever it is, in English, will stick into their head, like our friend just now said, Fidosh said, the lady face lighted up because she was understanding what Fidosh was saying in Avesta, I mean in English. So that might, do the what you call thing for a lot of other people. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Gustad said, I thought I saw your hand raised. Would you like to say a few words and share your wisdom? Gustad Pantaki. You have to unmute yourself. Gustad said you have to unmute yourself. Okay, we'll sort that out. In the meantime, let's have Khurshid go for it. Khurshid, you put something in chat, but if you can say it, it will be
yes. No, I do want to say something. In fact, I just want to ask something. I got mixed reviews. About this topic, and that's why I wanted to ask. One suggestion is going on, can I do my own prayers? Some have said yes and some have said no.
I couldn't hear her.
Okay, so she's asking if while the session is going on, can somebody say their own prayers, or should they be in tune with the congregational prayer that the Mohammed is saying?
They can, but not louder than the Mohammed. You just have to make sure that you're not louder than the Mohammed who is praying for the congregation. You have to keep it slightly lower, and you can do your prayers. There's no problem. I can't hear you.
Should the person be saying their own prayers, or should they be listening to the Mohammed?
If it feels good for you to do your prayers, do it. But just don't do it louder than the Mohammeds, because that disturbs the Mohammeds' concentration, because a lot of Mohammeds do it by heart, and somebody else praying some other prayers, your constant, your continuity goes away. So that's the only thing we tell people is to keep it lower than the Mohammeds. You can do your prayers what you want to do. Can you hear her?
Not the last part.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. Okay, but thank you very much, Khurshid. Appreciate your input. Jal Pantaki has something to say. Go ahead, Jal Sahib.
Sorry, I already said what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. So your hand is
Your
up.
hand is raised.
No,
Yeah.
it okay for you. Okay, not a problem. Thank you so much. Does somebody else have to say anything? If anyone wishes to participate in this discussion, please go ahead. Okay, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Kobad Seb, do you have any final words?
No, final word is mainly I think next year when we have our meeting, we discuss this more with more Morbits there, point of it, and we have to learn from each other. And some, one thing I always told every Morbid, I said, don't. If one Morbid is doing this way, or one Morbid is doing the other way, do not criticize him in public with other people. Talk to him directly. And if you don't like something, if he's doing it a different way, you do it different way, doesn't make a difference. As long as as Jal said, devotion is there, and people are, all the Morbits who go to the, out of the way to serve the community and do the prayers, they're all with devotion. This is what I believe. Otherwise, nobody is going to waste so much of that time and go there and sit there because they're not getting any monetary or any other advantage of it. Okay, so I would not judge anybody, any Morbid, that they are not going there with full devotion, but prayers could be done different way. You've got so many prayers. You've got so many prayers in our Tamam Khade Avastha. If you look at it, hardly we touch, 3 prayers or 4 prayers, and that's how we go on doing it. So what were those other prayers written for? There's a nice, beautiful prayer which for housewarming, people go and do Jashan. But there's a prayer in Tamam Khade Avastha called Chitram Guyat. It's only to bless the house. And people don't follow it. Morbits don't follow it either. They just go and do 3 Jashans. I haven't done a housewarming Jashan with the type, with what you call Kardas. No. I do my Atasinyas, Dwaram Satayas to bless the people there, and then to Chitram Guyat. It's such a beautiful prayer, Chitram Guyat. If you read that, it's in Tamam Khade Avastha. But a lot of Morbits don't follow that. A lot of Morbits will just go do the 3 Kardas and come out. With devotion, yes. But if you people understood the meaning of it, what prayers we are doing, and the language we are using, people will stop doing that. And they will follow the right prayers, So this is this thing to Morbits, and I wish there were a lot of Morbits over here on today's this thing to oppose it or whatever they want. But that's how we have to start discussing, and maybe with your permission, Tentan, next meeting of ours in next June. Maybe we should spend an hour or so discussing this same matter with all the Morbits there. So we'll have a better understanding.
Okay, thank you so much. Firdosh has his hand raised. So a brief comment, Firdosh, because we are just about out of time. Go ahead, Seb.
Haji, I'll be short. 2 quick things. The Chitram Guyat that Kobad mentioned, and he had mentioned it many years ago, to do that as a housewarming sort of blessing also. But what you say is 100% right, except it is 99.9% applicable. It is not 100% applicable. And I want to share this experience with you. We were at a house where there was an elderly couple, and they wanted to do their anniversary and do the housewarming. So we talked about Chitram Guyat. Like, why don't we do that? And we did that. And after the Chitram Guyat, the whole translation. And this is where the translation, in my opinion, becomes important, because the Morbid who did the Chitram Guyat recited and then somebody did the translation along with the Morbid. And it says about that when you're blessing the house, you're blessing the property, you're blessing the contents, you're blessing the people in the house, you're blessing them with long life, happiness, lots of children. And these people were at their 50th anniversary and they did not have to. Everybody's face dropped. So please, even when you do translations and select,
Yeah.
just pay attention. That's all I'm saying. Don't make it long.
So you
I
are
don't
going
have-
for the Mohammed should have they're going for blessing them for their anniversary also.
Yeah.
Then
I
it
told
did
you.
not have.
That's why I said 99.9%.
That's true. Yeah, they
Okay.
should not have done
The
that.
second topic point I have is to support what my good friend Jal Pantaki mentioned. And Jal, that good book that you showed of Taraporwala, that big book, there are about 500 copies of this sitting in a garage in Florida to be given out to those who request. It has been put on the Fazana website, etc. For your Anjuman library, you can get a free one. For the other one, they ask you just to make a donation. So if anybody is interested in that big book, which really is a level of university understanding and university master's doctorate programs, they use that. But if you want to just do a personal read and don't want to go through a big fat book, the same book of Taraporwala is in a paper-bound version. It is much smaller, much easier to read. I read it many times whenever I need to refer, etc. And it is very much like what Angaji has done with the explanation and some footnotes, not very long ones like in that big book. Thank you. That was
Thank
my
you.
comment.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I think perhaps we went through our slide presentation a little too quickly. And I think perhaps it will do justice if we were to just share it again and just go through the meaning of it.
Well, make sure all of them are there.
Okay, yes. Well, so this is, of course, we all know Pope. And recently he was asked about a problem that they are facing just the way we are. And the problem is this and this. So it's not unique to Zoroastrians. It is not unique to us. It's just about everywhere. All religions are facing the same problem. So we shouldn't feel bad that, oh, we are the only ones. No, everyone is facing the same problem. So what was his solution? And it's very forward thinking of the Pope to come up with this solution. He says, keep it short and well prepared. Keep it short. And then he himself acknowledges, how many times have we seen people sleeping and chatting among themselves outside smoking? Of course, we don't have that smoking problem. And then when people laugh, he said, no, it's true. Right there, it says it's true. So please, no more than 10 minutes. And then, of course, he puts the responsibility on the other part as well, on the laity, that they must pay attention while they are there. They must be respectful, and they must respect that all preachers are not the same. So I think Kobad has aptly chosen this part of Pope's suggestion, and perhaps we should at least, if not anything else, talk about it and explore it. So certainly we will put it on our agenda for next meeting and see how it goes. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you very much, Kobad, for taking this subject up. It's very important, and it's very timely that we discuss it, and if we have consensus, we do something about it. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And if you have any other topics that you would like to talk about, please contact Kobad. Kobad is spearheading this discussion group concept of NAMC Institute of Zoroastrian Studies. And he will be happy to put you on. So Firdosh has his hand up. So go ahead, Firdosh.
Okay, just to follow up on this same point that we made about English translations and perhaps loss of some essence and meaning. I haven't seen that, having compared many different translations. The essence is still the same. The juxtaposition of the words may be different. And yes, we talk in English, and yes, we should explain in English because that is the common language we use today. We can do that in Gujarati also. There is nothing wrong. But just to justify that we do in English, then therefore we will lose. I'm not saying that. We should keep the Avesta. But if you look at the language that Jesus Christ spoke. That was Aramaic. If you look at the language that later transferred into the Gospels and others, and then when the Inquisition took place, it was Latin. Even today, they do ceremonies in Latin. Nobody understands that. But yes, they also do English. So please don't feel that by doing it in English, we are demeaning or lowering anything in our prayers as a meaning. It is necessary for people to understand. So if you guys today were to speak in Swahili, I would talk to you in Swahili. Simple. Thank you.
But same thing, you're right. What was Monajat? Monajat was all in Gujarati, done in India, for people to devotionally.
Yeah, there's nothing
Sing.
wrong in that.
But there's nothing wrong. That's not. If it's in English or Gujarati, if it is done with devotion, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you very much for participating. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you again in middle of December. We look forward to seeing you for Kersi Atia's lecture. So you should have received the reminder already. If not, just please go on our website and you will find it there. So thank you again.
But this series would be now December. There's nothing in December for this series, for discussion series. It will be in January and February, 2 months.
Thank you, Kobad.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ardasa. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobad.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kobad.
Sahib kahan gaya aaj?
They've gone skiing.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He asked me how it went.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.